open access is a key component of the whole open science movement and or just open research movement. And so from the point of view of availability to results, particularly for publicly funded research, it does seem very strange that we're in a situation, or we've kind of found ourselves in a situation where the scientists are paid by public resources to go and do some science. They produce some results. They then do largely, particularly in computer science, where all camera ready is done by the computer scientists themselves. They produce these results. It's peer reviewed, often for free, by other people in the community, and then the publishers charge you for the right for you to be able to see it again. That does seem a bit strange. So the added value that the publishers are offering is kind of like, what is that? Particularly as publishers charge a lot. And now there are so many results. I mean, PubMed, for example, has 20 million entries in it. An entry goes in it once every 30 seconds. So this is a huge, and that is peer-reviewed result publications. So you can see how huge this is. So open access is a way of being able to make things available to everybody at the point of them needing to see those papers. There is no question that open access radically improves the availability of results and massively improves your citation statistics from a completely selfish point of view. So from that point of view, it's awesome. And universities are having to figure out ways of being able to deal with the various different gold and green open access issues. And now practically every university has an institution repository where we're encouraging deposition of full text of either the preprint or an early version or something to make those results available, to get those results out. So increasingly, universities, and Manchester is one of them, are acting like publishing houses for the scholarly outputs of their university, because they really want to improve the availability and visibility of their results, because when it comes down to it, that's what counts when they're measured in the UK during the ref and other exercises. So we're self-interested as well, but it's fantastic for the scientists. My rant is somebody has to pay. In the end, it's not free. It's, classically it's free like puppies are free. You get a free puppy and then you have to walk it, you have to feed it, it craps on the carpet, you have to clean that up, it gets sick, you have to look after it, and then it dies. That is just the same with institution repositories, with open access data, open access publications. Somebody has to look after it. It's as free as a free puppy. So who does that? Who pays? Well, the person who publishes pays. You want to put your paper in, you have to pay. Right? If we're talking about open access journals, that's expensive. I spent last year, my own project, £6,000 publishing papers, and that's only because I'm in lots of international consortia and we spread the cost amongst us for publishing papers. So we really want to get our stuff out into open access journals, which we would like to, particularly in biology, where there are many open access journals that are really highly regarded, or bioinformatics at least. It costs a lot of money, and that currently comes out of our grants. And the university is trying to figure out a way of balancing the books for buying, on the one hand, journals, and on the other hand paying, allowing its members to pay to publish, and getting that right is incredibly difficult. And so it's not a straightforward thing. And the other rant is the moral rant that says, well, you can make open access means that people who cannot afford the journals can get hold of the papers. Absolutely. But also, people who cannot afford to publish can't publish. So, yeah, the little research lab in the back of Beyond can now see all your papers, but it can't publish anything because it can't afford the fees to pay. So, this kind of notion that open access is some sort of silver bullet, is absolutely perfect in every conceivable way. It's a sort of Mary Poppins principle. Is naive. Somebody has to look after the site. These sites, software doesn't just live on, it decays. The content decays.
Yeah.
They have to make applications. I mean, in the end, the publishers will make money not on their content, they'll make money on the added value on top of their content. So they'll all turn into things like, basically app stores, where the content is fundamentally free, but all the cool stuff that says, how many people are reading your paper, people who read this paper also read that paper, all that kind of stuff which you're increasingly seeing by publishers. All that is the added value that the publishers really provide. Somebody has to provide that. And, basically, they're making money. So you could argue that, well, one way to completely subvert this, and this is the Stephen Harnad and others, Peter Murray Rust argument, is, well, we'll just start up our own. And we'll start up our own ways of make it all completely free, and we'll run it on minimum cost, and make these resources, these preprint services and so on, free. And you could certainly reduce the cost that way because you're not supporting a big publishing house. But you still need to do something. You still need to keep some sort of income stream operating, because you still need to pay for people to
Absolutely.
manage it somewhere along the line. So, and the kind of, oh no, it's all free. Well, you never really thought about the total cost of ownership. Then, the servers, the kind of, well, who's going to manage the takedown policy when somebody complains that it's plagiarism? How are you going to manage the spamming? Who's going to do all that kind of stuff? Who's going to build the extra API on top of it? Who's going to migrate it to a new operating system? I'm going to make sure that you're constantly moving the media so that the server dies off and it's all backed up and la 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 la.
And from my point of view, who's going to keep an eye on the quality of the metadata so things are still discoverable?
Exactly. Metadata, curating it is expensive.
Exactly.
So somebody has to do all of that. And all that sort of stuff. So it's not really free, is it? In fact, the open access argument, this puppies thing, is actually a software thing. So it comes from the guy who developed Linux.
So it's the extension of the free as in beer, free as in
Yeah,
speech.
free as in beer.
Puppies,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, free as in beer, free as in speech, free as in puppies.
Yeah.
And it's my ending slide when I'm pitching towards policymakers, when I'm pitching towards funding councils, and other people who think that we should have, really, who have potential influence, who want all these things, to say the puppies. And in fact, at the Sage Bionetworks, Sage Congress, which was in the States this year, I was told that I was there last year. The guy who runs Sage Bionetworks, which is to build a big public bio network commons for drug discovery, Carole said, this is free like puppies. I'm known as Puppy Woman in that case, and it's not mine, but it doesn't matter. It gets completely across the idea that there's a total. You can say, what's your total cost of ownership? Nobody understands what you mean. But if you can say it's free like a puppy, they do understand, and they all go, oh, when you say that, and the puppy dies at the end, because because that's what happens to data, and that's what happens to software. If it isn't looked after, it dies and it's completely unusable. And the open source kind of zealots who believe in this hobbyist approach, one, have never tried to use any open source software developed by hobbyists. I mean, it's a nightmare because, not because it isn't freely available, but because it's not usable. So it's this whole thing about not is it accessible, but is it actually usable? And that is a whole new level of engagement. The curating, the quality, the documentation, the examples, keeping everything up to date, making sure it's ported onto everything costs a lot of money because it costs a lot of resource. And the second thing is, where does the resource come from? Well, if it's from Eclipse, for example, which is an open source platform, it's actually heavily subsidised by people working in industry, because Eclipse is a platform used by software engineers in industry. So actually it's heavily contributed to by people who are being paid in their day jobs to do it. All my software is open source. It costs me £1.5 million a year, which I get by grants. So I am a resource acquirer machine. That's my job. I don't write code, I write grants. And I've got a big team, and they spend all their time doing the documentation, all the rest of it, right? That's how much it costs. And that's with, you know, some moderately kind of, if you like, niche scientific software. It costs money. So somebody's paying for it. And if it's hobbyists, then it's their day jobs that are paying for it, or they're paying for it out of their own salaries, or their mums and dads are subsidising them, but somebody's doing it.